An old friend from 102.1 The Edge on the podcast, Barry Taylor. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. It's been a while since you're, I don't know, you seem to disappear. You hate social media. I never see you there.
Yeah.
I looked before we started here. Your last Facebook post, your Facebook still has the Michael Jackson with the tiger as the cover photo.
Yeah.
Which is
I didn't
awesome.
think about that, actually.
It was like July of 2017.
Yeah. Okay. Should probably change that next time I'm on.
And you don't have a Twitter account, but like isn't that where like comedians kind of thrive on social media? It's all they're on Twitter.
Yeah, I do. I'll do a lot more like behind the scenes stuff now because I was not thriving in comedy, so I stepped back, and so yeah, I don't. I wasn't using it much when I was doing stand up. So
you're not doing stand up at all anymore?
Not really. Like I'll still do it for fun for sure, but really I've been focusing on like the producing behind the scenes stuff. And working on that more or less because it was kind of got to the point where I had to sort of choose one to focus on, and there's just way more opportunity with not being me on stage.
Well, okay, so you started up Comedy Records in what year?
2010. Yeah.
So yeah, like you were, because I know you were doing stand up for a couple of years before, like while you were still at the Edge, while we were still all working there.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it seemed like you went into comedy like with both feet, and then you did a little bit of radio part time. Fuck, there was that time. Remember, I interviewed you at Y108.
Yeah, buddy, that was great.
That was so weird because there was no one there, and one of the upper brass guys were like, "Well, Daryl, you're going to interview." I'm like, but just hire Barry. I don't want to interview him, And then they ended up hiring Scott Penfold that time.
Oh, is that who got that job? Well, Scott's a good dude, so that's okay.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all right.
And then you worked there afterwards because Jim came in. Yeah. And so it's like, I interviewed you, you didn't get the job. And then the next one you did.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting for sure. Because I grew up, like my childhood home was like a block from that station. Like literally, like I remember when that whole complex opened because my parents were big CHML listeners, and they thought it was the coolest thing in the world that the station was going to be like literally you could see it from our backyard.
Yeah, what's the high school? Westdale? Is that the name of the high school across the street?
Yeah, Westdale, yeah.
Which is where Teenage Head went to Westdale and...
Yeah, Teenage Head and like Martin Short. I think Daniel Lanois might have gone there.
Oh, wow,
too.
yeah.
And you remember Harry Neal, the former NHL broadcaster?
Yes. Hey, you can throw a blanket over these guys in the corner.
Yeah. He was a teacher there. Like before he got into hockey, he was a teacher at Westdale, yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, I think I just pulled Howie Meeker, maybe. Not Harry Neal is a different, but I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, he was Bob Cole's right-hand man for the longest time or whatever.
Yeah. He reminded Bob Cole of players' names for a good number of years.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So are you in? I saw it too. It's like that you were splitting your time between Miami and Toronto.
Yeah. So started Comedy Records in 2010, and then in 2014 we opened the U.S. side to the label, and then for a while we had like a sort of a pseudo office in New York. Our friend, a couple of my buddies own a comedy club there, and they let us sort of use their club as our office or whatever for the US side. But then now we have a proper office in Miami and do a lot of work down there. And generally this time of year would like to be down there, but the world being shut down, it's kind of...
Yeah. So what's the music world? When we worked together at the Edge, you were a big supporter of independent music. And the music industry obviously has been everything is evolving and they're finding new channels and new ways to do things. And it's a lot of it is, of course, online because it's the only outlet now. What is the kind of view of the future in the comedy world right now?
Yeah, I think I mean, I think there's a lot of similarities between comedy and music, and that's sort of the approach I took and we take now to Comedy Records is
Yeah, with
because
a record
it
label.
was the first label in Canada for comedy, and no one was doing it forever. And it was just just basically took the template of the independent music label that you and I worked with so many great ones while we are at the edge, and I was like, let's just do this for comedy. Um, and then in terms of the future, I mean, yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, putting out albums and then artists supporting those with tours, and then that's how they can, sustain a living kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was sort of the motivation to get the U.S. side of the company going, was to allow for North American tours, because touring Canada is a disaster. Like
It's so much like the music industry where it's like, oh no, if you want to actually make some money at this, you need to be able to crack the States.
yeah, and it's crazy, man. Like the having now worked in the U.S. for like 6 years, like it's I don't know, man. At least for entertainment, it is true. Like there are a million more opportunities, and there's just everyone's willing to collaborate down there. Like you can go to like we go to like venues like clubs and stuff, or comedians, or you know what I mean. We're like, hey, you want to do this? You want to do this? And everyone's eager and good to work on stuff and everything. Whereas in Canada, it's like I don't know. It's just like pulling teeth. It's odd. Like there's just I think because maybe there is like no star system, and it is such a small like pie for everyone to work from. Everyone's just so desperate to get their little piece, and then once they finally get something, they don't want to share it with anyone. Or, but I mean, it's
Yeah, there's always just a select few who are kind of at and it's usually tied in with the CBC.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Are the ones who become known across the country. I think with the States too, there's just so much. All the markets are so much closer together too, so you can hit
yeah,
like
100%.
you
Yeah,
can hit like a million shows compared to going across the country for 10.
yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly, exactly. And it's the biggest country or landmass in the world, right? So it's just like, God damn it. Yeah. So it's definitely I get why bands tour America and work in the US. It's
So
definitely advantageous, and there's just so much more opportunity.
so you're down there pre-pandemic. How much did the feeling or did it change during the Trump presidency?
Um, it's weird because I mean we're generally like we work a lot in New York, as you would expect. So that's obviously a liberal city, so you wouldn't really notice anything. Los Angeles too is pretty
Yeah.
obviously democratic, or whatever that means now.
Yeah, you're not going to
Um,
Fayetteville, Arkansas or anything.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But interestingly though, Miami, there's a huge Republican base in Miami, and some of the biggest supporters of Trump are the Cubans that live there now,
Oh, wow.
which is just like I can't. Two of my very good friends live there, and they try to explain it to me, and I'm like, why would any foreign country person support this man? And they're like, they think he is the American dream, like he is like, make it big and you can be a businessman and become president, and they just think that's so cool. And it's like, man, that's
It's his con. Yeah.
yeah,
It's weird. It's definitely
yeah.
weird.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't notice it too much, just because of the cities we were in were very liberal in the most part, and we yeah tend to avoid the backwood redneck
Yeah. Well, it seems like there was
spots.
two kind of in comedy from what I noticed. It's either you go all out against Trump and that is like your material, or you avoid him altogether. Um, you know,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't actually think of that, because yeah, the U.S. comics we work with, no one. Yeah, I don't think anyone actually does political stuff, now that you say that. So yeah, you're right.
but like
Uh,
I like watching Bill Maher on
yeah,
HBO. Don't always agree with what Bill Maher says, but I think he's got an interesting take, and I love how he just sticks it to the left too for being kind of like,
yeah,
like being really good at losing.
yeah.
That's what he kind of points at the most. But
Yeah.
but if you look at any of the late night shows like Colbert, it was 100%. So it seemed that the comedy world really just from what was in mainstream, on television and stuff was 100% Trump.
Yeah, 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 you're right. for sure. And it was, yeah, it was weird because, you know, it's obviously it seems like such low hanging fruit and almost impossible to satire something that insane. But yeah, it was just, I think like whatever, you know, not trying to sound whatever, but like comedy was kind of important, you know what I mean? To like keep calling him out really. And it was, I guess, sort of the easiest way to do that is through comedy. And, you know, whatever they say, it's like the court jester is the person who through history has really called out the powers that be kind of thing. So
yeah, music and comedy have a relationship with that for sure. You know what Dave Chappelle did. Dave Chappelle was the host like the day after he was elected, and then he was the first one to do a show during the pandemic after the George Floyd thing with the police, and has become like he's in like the Kennedy Center and all that. Like Chappelle has turned into like
he's an icon.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
That Saturday Night Live when it was him and Tribe Called Quest, I was just like, couldn't have been more amazing, right? Like, and they had the tribute to Fife Dog. It's just like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, buddy, hell yeah, I love it.
Okay.
And
yeah, go ahead.
First of all, you've got like three of my favorite artists, like Death from Above, Tribe, and Wu-Tang, and EPMD. Four, goddamn, you're killing it.
Because I know, so I started to do this now because I remember when we would go over to your place and play poker, and your condo seemed to be like a hub for people to hang out at.
Yeah.
In those years at the Edge. I always noticed you had a crate of hip hop records sitting there.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask you a little bit about that. And I thought, well, some of these will probably catch his eye too. I know, Death from Above, you were like talking about supporting the independent artists. Like you were one of the first. I had the guys from USS on as the first episode in like the second season of the podcast. And you were the guy who brought this
yeah.
And they freaked out too because it has the turquoise 111, which is track 6, which they didn't have cleared samples for, so like they had to take it off. Yeah, and your name has come up on a couple podcasts. It was in the USS one. This is the clip. I want to play something for you. Remember this time, like years ago, you and I would have been working together. You'd be setting up for the Steam Whistle Indie Club while I was doing that like 2-hour Friday night shift in between Bookie and the Kingdom, the 7 to 9. It was the fastest 2 hours in radio, and then the band would start, and I had to play the commercials while a band was playing like right next to me. It's like I have hearing loss from those for sure. But but the Steam Whistle Indie Club was awesome. It was so much fun. Do you remember when the Inner City Surfers came in?
Oh yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah. So in the podcast, I checked. It's not in the clip that I have, but we talked about how you had said if you ever got married, this was on the air during the interview, that they would be your wedding band.
Yes. I stand by that. Still not married. Probably not going to happen.
But if it does, and he's kind of on standby, he's like, yeah, we've been waiting for the call. It just never came. But Mikey, so I kept in touch. I always knew Dustin the most from that band.
Yep.
And, we kept in touch through like Facebook and stuff like that. But we kind of got talking about things. And then Pfeiffer's name came up and I was like, yeah, I worked with him. And then he was like, wait a second. He's like, you're the guy. He's like, you're the guy. And so I have the clip of me being on the air when they arrived, and I completely stuck my foot in my mouth, but it was kind of a funny moment. So I'm going to see if you remember this night. Here, check this out.
What happened?
Oh, no, that's, sorry, I had Dean on a couple episodes ago.
102, 102.1 The Edge. Jane's addiction, Jane says, sorry, if that idiot driving on our sidewalk is listening to us right now, get off the sidewalk. They are too. He's giving me thumbs up instead of the finger. Awesome. It's probably the band coming in tonight. Or I am being a dick. Anyhow, back to the Origins weekend. Jane's addiction.
So anyhow, then they came over and it was kind of a funny thing. Then the interview afterwards was when you said that.
Oh man, that's hilarious. That even just hearing that's crazy. That brings back memories. That was truly like such a fun time. Like that studio on Yonge Street and just like It was the best. Like that was so fun. That was, oh man, yeah, that's crazy. That's really cool.
It's a nice little slice of nostalgia. I was there for, just under 5 years. You were there 7 or 8?
Yes, yeah, like 7.5 maybe.
Yeah.
2002 to 2009. So yeah, 7.
So I always felt like I kind of came in and caught the tail end of all the great shit that was happening at the edge.
I felt like that too. That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's funny how people have said that about that station over the years. Like, how many times had you heard when we worked there? It's like, oh, the station had lost its edge 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But with the live to airs and the Steamless Indie Club going on, Punkorama, the Indie Hour, all of those things like Bookie's New Music Night. And with Dean, Jason, and Todd, those guys were killing it at that time too. That station was just, it was a cool place to be. I was overwhelmed when I first came in, but it took me a couple of years, I think, to settle in there. But
really? Oh, I didn't notice it. To me, it was like we got to live like rock stars, even though we had none of the talent or deserved any of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like we found like a back door into like rock and roll fame kind of thing. It was great.
Yeah, and that's where I said like you were a really big supporter of the independent bands that came through with like underground operations, like all of that crew, like the
yeah.
I discovered so much music through just being there and being in the hallways for all of that stuff, or in the studio when those things were happening. It was awesome. It was such a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was amazing, and it's like, just hearing that clip though, that's nuts, man. That brings me back. That's awesome.
I was pretty good at archiving stuff too. I found I've got some good Bookie clips too, and
oh, nice.
There's one, I posted one where Rob Dickinson came in, on like my Instagram, and he played Black Metallic. But I did find one when I was going through this hard drive of him with Tim from Rise Against, and then they played. And it was it was fantastic. I've got to dig that up. I'll post it or do something. But I heard that and I instantly thought of you.
That's crazy, yeah.
Because I remember being at a Rise Against show. I think at the Docks or Polson Pier or Sound Academy or whatever it was called at that time.
Yeah.
At a Rise Against show, and I only met them because I was hanging out with you.
Yeah, they were good. That was the thing though, right? It was like because it was the biggest station in Canada for that, format or whatever. We just got access to that entire world, and got to meet like people like Tim or whatever, like just these bands that it's like so insane that we would even, be able to cross paths with them or whatever. And it was just, we were just so lucky and fortunate to be there. And it was crazy. It was so good. Like so many great memories.
Yeah. Is there anything that like stands out like specifically to you from that time at the Edge?
I don't know, man. There was tons of stuff. To me, it was just like there was so many, like we were all like buddies, you know what I mean? And it was just like so fun. Like it was like it was not even close to work. It was like I remember Bookie saying it to me. He's like, buddy, every day we come in here and play, and it's recess. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like we just have fun, play bit music, and tell, jokes on the radio. Like, what better life could you ask for? And you could still like live off a radio salary back then. You know what I mean? It was all right.
Yeah. I think that the price of living in Toronto has skyrocketed since then, and the salaries have not. Yeah. Radio is just such a different place now. It's Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's different. I loved I think I had one of the best moments on the Megaphone Man show, because I used to come in and go on after you guys quite a bit. That was a great bit. Megaphone Man was awesome.
I honestly kind of forgot about that. That's funny you bring that up. I didn't archive any of that stuff, which in hindsight I probably should have, but I forgot about Megaphone Man. That was fucking, just thinking about how ridiculous is that. You know what that was? I remember one day during an indie club, I was sitting there on the board, and someone, like one of the fans of the band playing, came with a megaphone, and he was just talking, and I just started laughing. I was like, that is the funniest shit and he wasn't trying to be funny. He was just talking it, and I was just like, that sounds hilarious. So then I just, I just started talking on the radio, the megaphone, which is like insane.
But it wasn't just talking, like you were just like, it was always like trying to help people out with something, you know?
Yeah, there was like a while, like for a while there was like a storyline, like he had a girlfriend, they had kids, and then yeah, just insane.
That's the fun shit about radio that I think has kind of disappeared a little bit. Like you and JD also, like I remember the Awesome Lyric Challenge.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights for sure. That was like,
I would tell people about that, because what I thought, and I'm assuming it's what you're going for, is that the people who are participating don't realize they're the joke.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that.
I mean, the band and the song are the joke, and if the people are,
but they bought it. They were. I don't think there's some people who knew what you were doing and were kind of like playing along with it. But there was definitely people who were like, I love this lyric. It totally like touched me and made me feel like I was attached to something. And it was and it would be like a Creed lyric or something like that. Like,
Creed, or like Live had a bunch of, obviously, Nickelback.
Of course, yeah.
And like JD and I are still like really like best friends or whatever. He was telling me that because we did 3 Days Grace a couple times, and he, while working at
Sony,
he would run into the dudes, and they would ask about us, like Punkorama and stuff, and he'd just be like, oh yeah, man, you know what I mean?
That's a pretty good JD. Yeah, because they were like within, like my folks live out kind of that way around like Norwood, so like those other guys would have been around, I guess, and within earshot of the station.
Right, yeah.
What I always thought was funny was, because I wasn't there, but I heard a story about Jeff Martin came in and just looked like he wanted to murder you. So tell the Jeff Martin story then.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, I used to play that clip of you.
I should have gotten that, actually. I should have gotten that.
Because that was, what song is that?
It's Fire in the Head. It starts with you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what he says after that, but I just...
Oh God, it's an amazing name for a song too, Fire in the Head. But yeah, so we just used to play that clip over and over and like ask Jeff Martin questions, and the answer was always you, like whatever I asked him.
Or happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to you, or like, what were those boats from World War II that the Germans used?
I got
like,
the you boats.
Yeah. And then he
like, you abused it a lot. It was funny. There's no doubt, but it got played a lot.
Yeah. And then someone told me like he was performing in like, I don't know, Kingston or like one of the outside of Toronto cities. And he brought it up on stage. He's like, I've heard my beloved 102.1 The Edge is making fun of us or whatever. And then someone messaged me. I was like, oh, that's crazy. I can't believe you heard it. That's nuts. And then I came in one day and he was in doing an interview with Bookie, who was on before me. And I just walk in, and JD was working promo. And I walk in, I look at him, and he's just like, and I was like, yo, what's up, buddy? And then I look, and Jeff Martin was sitting in the chair staring at me like he wanted to kick the shit out of me. And I was just like panicked. I was just like, and I just...
Did you hang out or be like, I'm just going to go get a coffee?
No, I took off. Are you kidding me? I'm not fucking... I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't fight, but also I'm like, it was just the most awkward shit in the world. So I was like, I'm going to go down to KFC.
But dude, that could have been like a legendary moment. It could have been like live on the radio of Jeff Martin, like trying to choke you or something.
Yeah, that would have been great. You're right. But it was just like the most like totally caught me off guard, and it was so funny that JD was also working, and we're both like, what the fuck? And then I just just ran basically, and then just waited for JD to text me when he was gone, kind of thing.
Yeah, awkward moments with Canadian rock stars. Like the other one that comes to mind is Edwin, because Edwin lived in your building.
Right? He did, yeah, for the longest time. Yeah, he doesn't anymore, but yeah, I would see him in the elevator. He always, like not always, but very often wore a black T-shirt with a giant orange E on it.
Well, it was the '90s. Maybe it was just like they're probably easy to find, like raver shirts and.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, you would know. That's like.
Yeah. They were pretty. It was common to see.
Yeah, no, and I remember finally the one time I finally asked him about it. We were doing like this show. Alan Cross had like a TV show or something. I don't know. And he was on, and then I was on the next episode, and we're in the green room, and I was like, "Hey, man, we live in the same building." And he's like, "What building?" And I was like downtown near the Village. He's like, "I haven't lived there in years." I was like, "Fuck, sorry, dude." Like, I was like, all right.
Well,
yeah. So that was the only actual interaction I had with him. He wasn't happy about it. But
I always remember back at like laughing about a story, seeing him get a hot dog from the Hookers Harvey's.
Yes. Yeah. To this day, I think I've seen, because there's the Hooker Harvey's is across from my building, and I frequent the establishment. I'm not
a Harvey's is a good burger. Like, are you kidding me? Like it's an actual
amazing.
burger cooked on a grill with like charcoal, you know? Like
Exactly. And people are like, "Oh, but it's the Hooker Harvey's." But I'm like, yeah, but they make the food in front of you. Like, it's not like it's a Wendy's where I can't see what's going on back there.
The hookers aren't serving it. They just hang out there at night, you know? They're not there during the day.
Yeah, it's just a name for but I went in there, and there were like, someone had ordered 2 hot dogs, and then I was like, what psycho ordered hot dogs in here? And then they're like, hot dogs, and then they're like, what do you want on it? And fucking Edwin walks up to the counter and just like, I forget, and then he ordered, and then he was just like, it was just mustard and like lettuce or something, and I was like, what is, blew my goddamn mind.
These are the things that like I've retained all these years later. Is like I
well,
remember just like funny
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, they're important. That's good.
I came across the video that you did going around the office to the Arkells. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That's still on
Holy
YouTube.
Shit, yeah.
That's still on
Okay.
YouTube. Is
it really?
Yeah. It's
What? All right.
I did some. I mean, like I said, I did some. I always prep my show, so I I was looking for Barry Taylor stuff. I'm like, that's why I knew you hadn't posted on Facebook since 2017. You're not on Twitter, and that you're just brand new to Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. Finally got on there.
Okay.
Because we have like the Comedy Records Instagram, but then a couple of my friends would like tag me or tag Comedy Records, but like meaning me. So it's like the personal shit, and I'm just like, well, this is getting weird or whatever. So I just made a personal one. That's so funny that you know what's hilarious is that video was, because at the time there was like I think it was like a CHFI or some commercial that's basically
it's exactly like that, and that's what it's.
And it was driving me insane because it was on all the time, and it was like, oh, whatever the fuck their morning show was, they're like family and all this, and I was just like, this is psychotic. So then we made fun of that, but it was like that came out like a couple weeks before I was fired, and the sales guy in it, I can't think of his name now. I'm blanking, but anyway, he loves it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'm blanking on it too.
Yeah. He's the one at the end.
John Ferris.
Yes. John. Yes. Yeah. So he's the one at the end that I'm sitting across from in the desk or whatever. And he was like, this was amazing. Let's do more of these. I was like, yeah, do it. Let's do it or whatever. And there was like this office like camaraderie and everyone was pumped or whatever. And then I remember we were supposed to shoot like one more. And then like that week I got fired or whatever. It's just like, okay. So ruined that moment. But had a nice little life there.
But with that's kind of still like the early parts of social media. I think that was a little bit ahead of its time for the kind of content that was especially coming out of radio stations. You know what I mean? Now it's like the morning show. It's like you got to do 4 videos a week or like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I mean, you
I
just kind of
remember
wrote a sketch and did a parody of a CHFI commercial. You know?
Yeah. Well, I remember having those conversations with like our boss Ross, who eventually fired me. But I remember telling him, like, I was like, do you not see like the internet coming down like the path? Like I was like, it's over. Like if you don't give listeners like engage with them, why are they ever gonna listen to the the songs you pick in between commercials and when they can get everything on demand for free. And they're just like, play the hits, radios. And I was just like, not to be like, I mean, I think a lot of people saw it coming, but it was just like, it's just
they're
so
still
obvious.
having those discussions, I think, in the radio industry, right? Like,
yeah, I guess, I don't know. I was never welcomed back.
Yeah, you just kind of like well, I mean, you did the part-time stuff at Y108 a little bit, but then, I mean, I guess there's no urge or whatever, because some people get into radio and that it's a life, and you know, I felt like I was like that for a long time. Like I looked at it like that when I was working and tried to get involved in programming. Do you miss the business at all? I mean, you're doing cool shit now, but radio's just got a thing, you know, it's a cool medium.
Oh God, yeah. No, I loved it. I have zero regrets. And for me, it was like the main thing was I didn't want to move. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, you could go, you know, get a job right away in like Alberta or Saskatchewan." And I guess I love Toronto more than I love radio. Really, do you know what I mean? Like
I get
it's just
that.
like,
Yeah, because I struggled with that. For sure.
yeah,
Like I
sure,
went and
but
worked up in Timmins and shit, and like I was like, what have I done with my life? Like what did I do?
yeah. But you know, I look at like people like you killed it. Like you're one of the few people I know that like consistently sustained a career in radio, which is not easy. Like
no,
so kudos to you, man, because that is extremely challenging. And then yeah, just like I don't know, man. I kind of miss it, but at the same time, I don't know. I have a problem having a boss. Like I don't, you know, like I don't.
I hear you. Yeah.
Like so many, not anyone we've talked about now, or maybe it is, and I'm just saying that to cover my ass. But some people that were authority figures in our job, I just didn't respect. I was just like, I don't respect your opinion or the way you're doing this. Like you're doing so many things wrong. Not that I God knows I made 100 mistakes and would still do, but I was just like, I don't know. I couldn't, and like maybe it's arrogance or I don't know what it is, but so many people I just wanted to snap on. So I don't.
Yeah, you were such a laid back guy though. It's interesting to hear that. I understand the frustration for sure. You know, but I don't know. Yeah, like the thing that really surprised me was after they fired you, they brought in Greg B. Harrell, which was like Greg is funny, but I found that you guys were both like of a similar, like you had your own unique styles, but both kind of like a dry. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't
like,
actually.
How was your stuff? How was Barry Taylor not suited for the Edge, but Greg was? Both great talents, right. You know. Like I didn't get that because you guys were doing like you did, you know, sketch kind of bits like the Awesome Lyric Challenge and like the Canadian Musicians Secret Society and.
Holy shit! I forgot about that.
Yeah, see,
Lord.
It's how my brain works. I don't know what I had for lunch yesterday, but I remember bits that you did in 2007. You know.
That's amazing. Yeah. Holy crap! Yeah.
And Greg does that kind of stuff too. So it's just like you've got guys who are creating kind of unique content. Like, yeah, I didn't get a lot of it. I left shortly after all of that stuff. Like I came through that whole shit doing the same thing, and I was like, well, I still have a job, but
yeah.
Like the fucking the morale at the station was pretty dismal, and I was like. If I'm doing the same thing, it's like it's time to go after 5 years, you know.
Right.
That's when I went to Hamilton, and then I loved Hamilton. To be honest, like I was commuting back and forth for a while, but I lived on. I mean, you said you lived around the corner from the station. I lived on Homewood Avenue when I actually moved, which is right across the bridge, like right near that golf course. I forget what the name of the golf course is.
Good Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like there was cool restaurants like right down the street from where I lived. You told me about a good barbecue place in Hamilton.
There's Hamilton's great, man. I love it. I still have like half my family. Well, I mean, my family's small, but they're still there. It's the best. But like just to mention on that Greg thing, like I think it's like a lot like it's just like when like a new general manager takes over a sports team, like they want their own guys, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah, they got to put their stamp on it.
yeah. So it's like the that Ross Winters, that programs director, he didn't know me. He didn't, you know what I mean? I was just a dude there when he got there. So he was like, no, I want to have my own people, which was, that's just what it is, which is cool. And the Greg guy, like he smashed it. Is he still, I don't know if he's still.
No, I think he's on the air in like San Diego or something now.
Yeah. Cause I remember seeing that like someone, I don't know, somewhere on social, but he was like doing evenings there while at the Edge too. I was like, that's fucking awesome. Like, so, I mean, obviously he was good. And I just think, it's just like that whole, like, bosses want to make it their own thing kind of thing, which is fine, you know?
Yeah. I think that overall there's something in radio where they just they talk about being local, like the importance of local, and that's the connection. But when you have these personalities that have this established connection to your audience and have like, a legacy with the audience, like those are the ones that it's like, oh, well, they've been here so long, they make too much money. Those are the ones that we kind of have to push out. They don't. Yeah. And not saying that we were, that you had a big ticket job at the Edge, but you had a thing going on there. You had a definite audience that was there for Barry Taylor.
Oh, thanks, man. That's really nice. I mean, that's nice. Thank you very much for saying that. I would think like a lot of it to me was like when when they let Martin Street go and then eventually Bookie go, I was just like, that just baffled me, where I was just like, what are you? Like, what do you think you're doing? Like,
that's exactly what I'm talking about, is like where they push out the ones like that have
like iconic personalities in radio, like, not just associated with that station. And you're just like, what? Again, it was like the whole thing, like ignoring the internet and then being tone deaf with letting those two guys go. It's just like, fuck, man.
Well, and then Alan too, and then he got picked up at Indy, and then I guess they backed up the Brinks truck to his house to bring him back to the Edge, because
is he there now?
Yeah, he's still there. He's like still does the Ongoing History. The Ongoing History podcast is like I think it's the biggest music podcast in Canada. Like I saw Rob Johnson is still he's doing the podcast thing with Chorus, the Curious Cast, and he shared that like Ongoing History just cracked like 10 million downloads or something.
What?
Yeah,
I believe it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Alan is in like he's built it.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, good for him, man. That's crazy. That's great.
He's one that's managed to kind of stick it through. But all of those people, because I still see what happens in the industry. I pay attention to kind of what happens in the radio world, and man, I guess COVID accelerated some things, but those annual, like, X amount of people are gone now, was like entire stations. There's a really great station in Windsor. It's actually where Dean came from, 89X.
Yeah, and Jim McCordy.
Yeah, Jim. There. Yeah, who we both worked with.
The best. Sorry, just real quick. I got my start at the Edge with him. He was a creative director, and I basically begged him for an internship, and he hooked me up and was amazing. Jim's one of the greatest, people ever, but in radio too. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, he was my PD, and he came in. He was the second half of Y108 when. Right. My first half of Y108 there was a little strange. It turned into a hair metal station for like a couple months before that got shut down.
That's the Hamilton effect. That's going to happen.
And but then Jim came in. He was the next guy after that, and so I worked with Jim for a while. And he's a good talent coach. He gets you to, he brings out your best for sure.
Yeah, I love that guy.
We had an awesome little crew there. I should get maybe those guys on. And you probably worked with some of them too. Like when I was there for a period of time, it was Ben, Carey, me, Big Chris, and Scott Penfold.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, the holy crap!
I'm surprised the station didn't catch fire.
Well, we would hang out at Carey's place sometimes. It was the Loft, and man, like I thought we smoked a lot of weed at your condo. Like not. Like, this was. This was the show.
Yeah. He was the big leagues for sure. That guy was a legend. And yeah, the little bit I was there was awesome. Like those guys were there when I was there. Um was Penfold, Nick Chino. Did you ever work with Nick Chino?
Yes, yeah. Nick's a great guy.
Yeah, he was a good dude. And then Shauna Whalen and Chris, they're the Edge Morning
They're
Show.
the Edge Morning Show now, yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. Good, which is great for them. Yeah, I don't know, man. Radio, it is, like you say, it's great, and it's this awesome medium, and it is so much fun. And I mean, I think we were just so fortunate to get in that like last tail end of 228 Yonge Street in this like crazy thing, like rock style life, like that we again just did not deserve or do anything but something I have to be part of.
So true. It's so true. I left just before the move. It was at 228 Yonge Street when I had left to go to Hamilton, but it wasn't long after that that they moved into the big compound on the water or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. There was something about that time.
Nuts.
For sure. You did some work with the Raptors after that too. Are you still doing anything? You doing a Raptor?
Yeah. I did some stuff with NBA TV with the Raptors, and then it was funny. Like it was like I was working with them for a year or two, and then like I would just fill in when the main personalities were on the road. Basically, it was like, and then. This one time they had a chance to have Rowan Barrett fill in instead of me. And he killed it, obviously. I mean, the guy's like a Canadian basketball legend. You know what I mean? And then the producer messaged me and he's like, hey, man, things went well with Rowan. And I don't know if we're going to use you anymore. I was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't, man. Like you've got this dude who was on the national team, like played with Steve Nash. His kid is now in the NBA, and Steve Nash's godfather is like, people probably a little more interested in what he has to say about basketball than me, you know? So like, it's all good.
Yeah. Even if he's shitty on the air, you get those kind of jobs by default in the sports world, I think. Like,
yeah. Hell yeah. But also like
I'm not saying he is.
I loved it, but also I was just like, well, no one gives a shit. Like, why would anyone care what I think about basketball? You know what I mean? Like I love basketball, but I never played. Like I played in fucking house league, you know what I mean? I wasn't good enough to make high school. So yeah, so they did that. But then one of my good buddies, Nick, and I have been doing a Raptors podcast for like 8 years now. And it's been pretty fun. We do it usually weekly during the season kind of thing. And yeah, man, it's been a good time to be a Raptor fan. That's for sure.
What's that podcast called?
Talking Raptors.
And that's Spotify, like all the places?
Yeah. We're on the main place. We're on Raptors Republic. It's this like online fan site kind of thing. And yeah, that's I guess really the only sort of connection I have to radio. But then I mean, I guess the other side is like, you're mentioning like the sketches and stuff. Like that's a lot of what I do with Comedy Records is a lot of like that production and building, like, they always tell us radio is like the theater of the mind. And like, I try and like always bring that to comedians. And it's like, yo, you can make this album and like, there's not a lot of overhead expenses, but you can do anything with audio. Like you can do anything. You can go anywhere. You can be on the moon and then 30 seconds later be riding a dinosaur. You know what I mean? Like you can do fucking anything and there's no production cost. So it's like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I got onto that. I guess it was just like still ways I'm trying to live the radio dream, really.
Well, yeah, because I think that you wrote some scripts, I remember too, about for Y108. And there was this whole series about there being Sherpas for the mountain in Hamilton.
Yeah, for Hamilton Mountain, yeah.
Which was hilarious, right? Like you could totally, like, to go out and shoot that would be really hard to do, but to do it as like those old like radio dramas with some sound effects and stuff. It's
yeah.
There's
I love that stuff.
That's what I mean. Like that's kind of like the fun of radio, and also the being live and the immediacy of like something just happened and like how do you filter that through to the audience? One of the best kind of things that I've seen from that, it was Kat Corbett from K-Rock in LA. It was when one of the, I guess the last one from the Monkees, it like died, and it was in the middle of the day during her show. So she had tweeted, and then she played the Pixies' "Monkeys Gone to Heaven," and it was like, you thought of that in that moment and did it right away, right? Like that's that's what's cool about radio is the ability to do that with music and stuff too. That's what I loved about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach an audience immediately, right? Like immediately. Yeah. No, there's still a ton of value to it. Like a ton of value. Like it's just, picking out what makes it unique like that, for instance, and then really leveraging it,
Yeah. I'm glad that you're still doing the Raptors thing. I knew that you're always a huge sports fan. I also, and we'll wrap it up with a little bit of talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I remember also you resigning your Leaf fandom on the air and saying, that's it. I've had it. I'm walking away. I'm done.
Yeah, I did. And I haven't gone back, and it's been the best decision of my life. Yeah. Dude, that meltdown against the Bruins, the game 7.
Yeah.
I was sitting on my couch, like right there.
But that was years after you had given up, because I was in Kingston when the meltdown happened. Yeah.
But that's the thing though, is I had no feelings. Like I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like
right, because you had no.
Yeah, I know. But you remember, our buddy Travis, obviously.
Yeah.
As soon as Boston
huge
scored,
Habs fan.
Yeah. As soon as Boston scored that first goal, I texted him. I was like, "Here it comes," and then it all happened. And then JD is still a big Leafs fan, and just to hear it, like he was shattered, and I was like, I feel great.
I clearly remember that. You know what it felt like to me was, one of the years that Canada played, it was the year that Mark Vizentine, he played for Niagara, I think. He was the goalie for Team Canada at the World Juniors, and they were up on Russia like something like 5-1, and within like 6 minutes, boom, 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 boom. Here's your silver medal. And it was like, what happened? And it was totally that feeling where of your heart just getting like ripped out of your chest and like stomped on.
So that's hilarious that you remember that. Yeah, because I did. I swear to God, like I did stop that, and I was just like, I'm not, because that was like when it was there was no salary cap, so it was like they could buy literally everyone, and they were not like they would sign like I remember like the big free agents were like Kovalev and like Theron Fleury, and they'd sign like fucking Shane Corson or something, and you'd be like, dude, you guys have all the money, and everyone wants to come here. Like but they're like, but to them, they're like, we're selling out every game. Like we're done. Like we can't make more money from, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, there's a lack of motivation, I guess, but they seem to have maybe put a few things together in the last couple of years. I do like the all Canadian division because of COVID, which is kind of so if you gave up on the Leafs, did you give up on hockey? Do you still watch hockey?
No, not really. And because to be honest, I didn't really follow hockey too much growing up. It was more like when in college, end of high school, college, and then especially when I moved to Toronto, like it's a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's like part of the best part of like, because when I first moved here, it was like 2002. Like the Leafs were good. It was like Sundin, McGillney, and then they got Owen Nolan that year. You know what I mean? It was just like, holy shit, this seems good.
Yeah.
And then the city's just bananas when the Leafs are in the playoffs. But now I kind of hate Leaf fans. Like it's weird. I don't like, it's just too much.
Changed. It shifted. I started to see, because I live in Ottawa now, and they hate Leaf fans here because when the Leafs play in Ottawa, it sounds like a Leafs home game, right? Then there's everyone knows the Ottawa Toronto shit. So I just, especially when I was on radio here, I tried to just like, come on, we can get along kind of thing, right? Because like everyone will hate you if you do otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
But at this, like, I could see why they don't like them though, because I would go to the games and I would see some of the Leaf fans. I'm like, there's a Leaf fan that makes people hate Leaf fans, you know?
100%.
Yeah. So like, I became more self-aware coming here, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
As a Leaf fan, kind of.
So many, because like there's obviously it's not all of them, but like some Leaf fans, they're just like so like self-entitled and stuff. And it's like, what? Like, what? You haven't done anything. You haven't done shit. You haven't won in our entire lifetime. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And St. Louis won a cup, so we didn't even have that. Like, well, St. Louis has been around since the last time we won a cup and haven't won shit. But well, now they have, so they really are like.
Yeah.
It almost is like a curse. It seems. I mean, if 93 wasn't a curse,
right?
Like
it was like, but it was almost like karma too, right? Because because I was gonna say, like, tying it to that doesn't work actually. I was thinking about how when Gretzky wanted to come to the Leafs, but that was later.
That was later, yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't work. But yeah, no, that was again. But that was another example of why I hated the fucking team. When Wayne Gretzky is like, I want to come play for you guys, and they're like, I don't think so.
Yeah, and they couldn't make that happen, and he ended up going and playing St. Louis for like a week or something like that too.
Yeah,
I feel like there's pictures, like I can picture a hockey card of Gretzky in a St. Louis.
Yeah, because wasn't that he went from, was it the Kings to the Blues and then the Rangers? Was that what it was?
I think so. Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, he retired as a Ranger. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that was just like
the
he
totally
should of all time, and you're like, no thanks.
Yeah, from Brantford, who wants to come and play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah. At least they did it with Tavares, right? Like Tavares is.
Yeah, dude, things are way better, way better now. Like way better. Like they're actually, but again, it's like that salary cap world, right? Like they had the opportunity to be like the Yankees or the Red Sox and like outbid everyone, but they just didn't, you know?
Yeah. So, okay, hypothetical situation. I don't like when Leaf fans really start saying like, okay, right now they're in first in that division, and that's cool. There's been like 8 games or whatever.
The Leafs are in first now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like I said, they haven't played that many games, but so far so good. And let's say that this is the year, because of the divisions or anything. It's just the way that the game shakes out, that they end up going the distance. It's like Game 7, them versus, it won't be a Canadian team because they're all in the same division, but whoever. Right. Do you have any invested interest in that at all? Would you then have like that 10-year or more like regret of, because
no, like I don't know, I genuinely like it. I don't know, I just genuinely don't care, man. Like it's like
I love that you stick to it. That's awesome. Yeah,
but I just don't because I just gave up, and it's been nothing but great since. But it's like I have ex-girlfriends that I still like and hope they're happy, but like I don't want to be with them. Do you know what I mean? Like
that's how you see. Yeah, they're just an ex that like.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, like I want you to get married and have kids, Austin Matthews, but like I don't want to be there. I don't want to be part of it. You know what I mean?
I don't want to come to the wedding. Yeah.
No, God no. It's nice. I'm like, cool. This is nice. But I just don't care. Which is again really, really been great up until it. But like you said, they've been really turned the corner. Like Tim Lewicki, man. That guy changed everything in Toronto sports when he came in. He flipped the league, he flipped TFC, and he flipped the Raptors. Like he's the best president ever. Yeah,
for sure. Are you still a big Cat fan then?
You know what? I haven't even been to the new stadium.
No?
Embarrassingly, yeah, no. Which is terrible. So yeah, I haven't watched CFL in a while.
It's big here. The Red Blacks, they put on a good. You know who's actually the head marketing guy of OSEG here, which is like the Ottawa 67s and the Ottawa Red Blacks, everything, is John Sinden.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was our promo director at The Edge. For those listeners at The Edge, I imagine would be listening to this podcast, he was the inside edge, right? He always cut those promos. And he wrote a book about 2020 called Shitstorm. I'll give his book a plug.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, it looks like a kid's book, but it's not. And so it's like every letter of the alphabet is a different fucked up thing from 2020. And he got on like Amazon like lists and stuff like that. Yeah, it was cool.
He was very ahead of the time. Like he was very into social media and Twitter, I remember, especially when it came out. And he really pushed that stuff early when no one else was doing it. So
very smart guy. This was awesome, man. It was great to catch up with you. It'd been like since Kingston, which was, I mean, at least 7 or 8 years. But it was good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Great seeing you, man.
All right.